Okay. Hello, everyone. We have a lot of people signed up for today, so very excited. I think we'll start seeing people trickling in throughout the event, but I'm going to go ahead and dive in and get started so we can kind of get to the meat of our presentation today. We have a lot of really, really great stuff to cover, and this is definitely a topic that has been in high demand. So very excited for today. If you would like, please feel free to say hello in the chat. You can let us know maybe where you're joining from. Hi, Emilio. So good to see you here. And if you have anything specific that you're looking forward to learning about today, let us know. And of course, within the chat throughout today, please feel free to ask questions. We have a Make representative here today that will also be helpful and be able to answer some questions too that are beyond my knowledge at this point. So I am going to be also learning a lot from these guys today. So getting excited for that. All right, so Arthur, you have some fans in the chat. I love it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started with the intro, and then we're going to hand it over to these guys because they are the experts and they're going to walk us through all of the goodies for today. So for those of you that don't know us, I feel like most of you that are here right now already do, but Softr, we are a no-code tool that allows you to build custom apps and internal tools using Airtable and most recently Google Sheets, block by block and without code, right? Okay, so today our partner integration kind of showcase is with Make. Many of you guys here, especially in the chat, I'm recognizing lots of you as our experts, some of our super users. That's great. You are very familiar with Make. So for those of you that maybe aren't as familiar, Make is a super incredible tool that integrates really well with Softr. So they pitch themselves as from tasks and workflows to apps and systems. You can build and automate anything in one powerful visual platform. So we're going to go behind the scenes of Make today. I'm also going to hand it over to Sebastian in a moment, who is our Make representative. He is the head of strategic projects at Make. Super grateful to have you here today, Sebastian, to kind of represent Make. He's going to give us a little bit of overview on the company, show us a couple of interesting use cases, and also be here to kind of answer some questions from you guys maybe in the chat throughout the event if you have them. So Sebastian, I'll hand it over to you in just a second. And then for our community guests today, so one of the things we're really trying to do with these events is utilize our Softr community as much as we can, because you guys are the ones that are really building super interesting apps. And we want to be able to kind of like showcase that. So 2 very brave community members raised their hands for this workshop about a month ago. I'm so grateful. Our first community member is Yaya. So Yaya is joining us from Germany. And he is an ex-full-time content creator, but now he works for Protocol Labs, and he's currently building an investor portal to help fund the next generation of the internet. So for this investor portal, that's where he essentially started to learn Make, because he ran into some Softr limitations that Make was able to solve for, specifically allowing users to update their email address within their user settings. So he's going to walk through that use case with us today and the solution for that, so you guys can get a deeper look into that use case. So Yaya, thanks for joining us. And then secondly, we have Arthur. So Arthur is joining us from France. He is also an avid Softr community member. He's the founder of Outlivy, an automation agency. He was fed up with repetitive tasks. He discovered no code and founded his company, which is currently booming based off of my conversations with you. Congratulations on that. Specializing in automation and building business tool management. And you're also a Make expert, which is really cool. So thanks guys for saying hi in the chat. I'm excited to follow along. So again, a couple of things. This will be recorded, of course. We always post it on YouTube after, usually within a few days. Questions that you have, please put them in the chat. We'll try to answer them in real time. If there's stuff that maybe needs to be asked at the end, we'll wait till the end as well. Yeah, and I'm just excited. So that's all that I have for this intro. I'm going to now hand it over to Sebastian, who is our Make representative today and let him kind of kick things off. So I'll go ahead and hand it over to you. You can take over my screen, and I'm going to mute myself for now.
Thanks everybody for joining. I'm Sebastian from Make, and yeah, I'm more than happy to walk you a bit through the history of Make, as well as what is our joint vision and mission in low and no code, as well as giving you some quite cool examples of the power of Make in combination with OpenAI. And therefore, I will just try sharing my screen with all of you. So let me just share my screen. Cool. Okay, so yeah, you should now see the presentation in full mode. Just short heads up would be great for me. I assume yes.
Looks
if
good.
I hear nothing. Okay, perfect. Okay, cool. Yeah, so basically past today, maybe some of you know Make was still like 1 year ago on the 2020 of February 2020, renamed from Integromat to Make, and yeah, now we are around 283 makers, and yeah, it's all started back in Prague as a business idea from 4 founders, and yeah, they were basically a small company. You see some early pictures on the left side, and the mission is as it is today. Listen and talk to customers, making sure the feedback is heard. There are several boards where you can share the feedback, and always start working with us, pushing us forward. And it's always about time and room for professionally, like today, as well as on our community, where we are definitely inviting you and focus now with a strong team and a great team you can see right there. And it's just 200, and we're growing day by day. So why are we here? We imagine a world where everyone has the power to innovate without limits. I really like the example of building your own portal, your own tool with Softr, Airtable. Myself, I've been a founder of a low no-code agency, scaled it pretty much up, and then handed it over because I want to focus back on software industry. And yeah, so I really know this, and I really feel the power one has when it comes to building a software. But there are some cases where you need some automation in the back end, like it is in classical coding. And we want to be the central engine for your automations. Therefore, just compare it with like the Homo sapiens back then, the cognitive revolution, then the agricultural revolution, and now the start of the scientific revolution. It's already 500 years ago. And now we're coming into a time where only some of us can code, but we need way more coders, we need way more builders. So we need people that can really execute in the continuous improvement of human mankind. So therefore, the future is definitely no code, and it is visual. We want to build it, we want to do it like in software, track it together, build in the fields, and just start creating this powerful tool we are imagining. So what we do is we imagine a world where everyone has the power to innovate without limits. That's our mission, that's why we're here. And we can impact our joint low and no code vision already today. What we definitely can do is we're super easy to use and yet super powerful, as you will see in some examples today. So Make is therefore the leading visual platform for anyone to design, build, and automate, iterate on solution, especially the iteration, to start small and even grow into complex use cases. This differentiates us from a lot of other competitors, and most importantly, without the need to code, but still you could connect to code pretty easily. So we are imagining as well as a world where everyone can automate with AI in the future. And I want to show you some of these all fancy nice words I've just shown you in action. Therefore, we'll just stop the presentation and switch over to Make. Let's say I gathered a random list of public companies in the Nordics, and I want to say, well, I would love to know their company domain. I would love to know their market. I would love to industry. some of you might think, well, this is something I would love to show in my Softr app from my Google Sheet. I could have done that on Airtable, but we are a Google-based company, therefore I'm going to show you in Google. So let's say I want to publish this data on my Softr application, but well, I don't know the company domain. Well, I don't know the market. I don't know the value proposition. But maybe we could get it in AI. So I prepared something for you, and as you can see, I tested before the webinar, so it really works. And now what I will do is I will search the row.
Sorry, we lost your screen.
You
You need to
lost my
share it
screen.
again.
Then let me
Sorry.
see my screen. Thanks for flagging. Thanks really much for flagging. Okay, now you should see. You probably did not see the Google Sheet, so I will repeat.
We did
just throw
this
down the Google
part.
Sheet.
Sorry, we saw this part. It just went away.
Okay. It just went away. Okay, perfect. So then let me switch to Make. Here we have a visual scenario where you can interact with OpenAI, Google Sheet. You can parse JSON, sleep a bit, and then move it forward. Let me just show you in action. If everything goes well, it should start adding domains here like magic. And that's what I love about Make. You know, I'm just looking at it and it's working. It's adding more and more domains in here. It probably stopped now because I only wanted to have it 3 and I let the other one fail. So what do we do here with Make? And that's super straightforward. You can go in here, you can connect OpenAI to it with on top of your Google Sheet. You can send over a prompt. And here's some tip for you today. You can use JSON in there. If you say, well, OpenAI, please return me a JSON, it really works like this. So then you can simply parse the JSON in here. It does not detect this domain. That's why it's not working with this text response. But if you send it a clear domain, it works like this. And from here, you can go even one step further, because the only thing I did right now is I analyzed for the domain. Now, what I want to do is I want to build out the whole magic of it. So what you can do in Make is you can go on the website, you can get the website content from this company as an HTML, you can parse it, some manipulation with the data, and you can send it to OpenAI as well with the whole text, and you can fully analyze what this company is about. So you know, okay, they are in B2C market, they are in B2B, they're software, they're consumer goods, and you can even extract based on the website and all the learnings OpenAI had fully automatically the value proposition. And just now imagine it, you could show this to your customers that are logging in into their software application, and you can show them this data. And I think that's the perfect moment to hand over to people that can show you today actual software applications that are built with Make. I wanted to drive a bit of what's possible with Make regarding visual automation, just really simple 5-module scenario, really simple, maybe 10-module scenario, but still using OpenAI in here to automate your process. And yeah, thanks for listening. And I'm happy to hand over now, and I will stop my screen sharing. Feel free if you have any questions in the chat.
That was incredible. I was saying in the chat that this type of manual work is definitely something I've done in past lives. It's definitely the job for interns that it just reminds me of, like, tedious, repetitive tasks. That's the pinnacle of what I feel like these solutions can really solve for. Really cool. Thanks for sharing. What a great way to kind of like get everyone excited. Sure. So now we're going to hand it over to Arthur. You're going to be first up. So again, Arthur is going to walk us through how he enabled automatic user creation in Softr, of course, with the help of Make. So I will now hand it over to you. Feel free to share your screen and kind of kick things off.
Okay, thank you, Lizzie. Thank you, Sebastian, for the demonstration. It was like a very interesting use case and remind me like Lizzie, my past life as an intern on my last company. So I'm going to show you my screen. Just let me know if you can see everything. Not a good one, obviously. Can you see the screen? No, it's not the right one. Okay. Okay, so here's a case. I'm not going to show you the softer part first. I'm going to show you the base behind the application. So to put more context on my case, is I wanted to have my Airtable user be able to create user in Softr without having access of my soft application, because we don't know when we give some permission in soft application. You know, if you're an intern, you make mistakes, you can do crazy stuff, crazy thing, and you don't want your application to be deleted like because of manual mistake. It can happen, even if now we have some versioning stuff and have a great support in software. But my choice was to say, okay, I want to be able to create and delete user directly from my Airtable base, basically. So we have like this template for the workshop, and as you can see, I added a person called Lizzie on this line, and you can see there is two buttons. The first one is basically, as it say, allow you to create new users, and the second one, delete the user. What we want is to have like a new user creating the software application, but we also want to have the magic link in our Airtable base. To be more specific, this case is really interesting when you don't have the user tables synchronized with Airtable between, you know, if you go to your software application, you can go to your app and the user, and you see you don't want to be connected between Airtable. This is why. I'm going to just delete this. I'm going to show you an example, and then I will show you like how I build it and go deeper. So let's start. Let's say I don't want this information, and I want a user to be created in my soft application. So I'm just going to click the button. I don't know if you see, but it went really fast, but a window has been opened and closed immediately. So what happened on my software side? I just need to refresh my page, and here we are. We have the name of the person from the Airtable base. We have the email, the created dates, and the magic link. So on the software part, we have everything we need. And if we go to our Airtable base, we also have all the information, so everything works properly. That's good. But now, if you want to recreate it on your own, I'm going to show you how to do this. So first, this is a scenarios. It's a nice one, not that much complicated. So don't worry, I'm going to be like the more explicit as I can. So the first step for the scenarios is to build, is to add a trigger. A trigger is basically an URL you can call and ask and give him some parameters, and in which he will receive it, and then you can manage the data. So I just create a new webhook in my Make account, in my Make scenarios, and I put it on my Airtable base. If I click on the button, you can see there is some formula. I will not extend myself on this side. I'll just let you take a screen if you want, or maybe you can see on the YouTube video this part. The thing that we are interested by is the API documentation provided by Softr. It's a good one because there is color, everything is explained, you know what to do, and basically you have also some explanation and example, which is a good thing to understand how the API work. For some of you, it can be hard to read this part because it's a curl language, it's like code language basically. But don't worry, I'm going to show you what does it mean if we translate in a make call, a custom call API. So let's go. So if we go to the creation part, we want to create a software user. Basically, you need to have some parameters. First, you need to provide the content type, basically the language, like in our case, JSON is a language most of the time used in Make. The domain of your app, the domain you can have it when you go to publish and just copy and paste the domain right here. and your Softr API key. For those who don't know where you can find it, you just have to go on your Softr profile, go to My Accounts, API setting, and then you have your API. I'm not going to regenerate mine because it's going to break everything I built, but you have the idea. So first, once you have this, you need to put the URL of the API you're going to call. So if we look at the documentation, it says the request is a post method in purple, and the URL you are going to use is this one. So what you need is to copy this URL, this one here, copy and paste it on the URL field. On method, right behind, you need to select post because, as it said, it's a post method. And then on header is basically the parameter you need to run everything properly. Then, if you go back to the API documentation, you see that there needs some data to work correctly. So there needs a full name, email, password, and you need to know, the API needs to know if you have to generate a magic link or not. This is true, you can see here is a touching part because it says true, but it's like a trap. If you just go on the request content on the body part and you write true, it's not going to work. You have to go to the make section, general function, and select keyword true. Otherwise, it's not going to work. You have the output will be empty. So for the body part, as I said, you can just copy and paste everything, but don't forget this one. Yeah, not like me. And you can copy paste here everything. So now you have all the data, but you want to create a user from your Airtable base. So what you need is when you call the webhook on the Airtable table, you need to retrieve throughout the webhook all information you want or you need. I mean, in our case, we need the name, the email, and the record ID of the Airtable table. So there is different way to do this. You can basically go to this formula and add each parameter using the evaluate in French. I don't know how to say it in English, sorry. But yeah. So Lizzie, you try to say something?
I came off for a second. I think it's ampersand in English. I don't know.
Okay, thank you. Don't hesitate to stop me if you have some question because I don't have the feedback from you from the chat.
Yeah, I'll interrupt if there's a question that maybe can be answered
Okay.
like in real time, or we'll wait till the end. No worries. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. So area. On the Airtable side, everything is set up. And if you go to the API documentation, normally you should have all the information on your make account. For some of you who are not familiar with HTTP method, you have to go to add and write it down HTTP, and you will have this module open and select make a request, not a basic host request or the other one, just make request, it's enough because all parameters are going to be sent directly through the headers. So don't worry with authentication or such a thing. The important part is to provide the URL, the method, and all information that asked by the documentation. So, but as I was saying before, you need some information provided in Airtable, and for that, you can just go to Airtable, add an Airtable module right here before, and add a get record. The get record is basically a way to retrieve all information you need from a record ID, and to have this record ID, I don't know for some if you see everything, but I add on the parameter the record ID of each line. So when I call the webhook, I have the webhook plus my record ID for per line. For some of you who want to know how I automatically close the window after I press the button new user, it's thanks to this module. It's a webhook response. It's a bit technical, but you have the only thing you have to know is this part is like some HTML code that when you close the window open previously. Not something great. You can I can maybe send you the code after, or maybe the blueprint of the automation after the webinar. So don't worry. So here we are. We have everything set it up. And if I go to the previous run, you can see that I have all my information needed. So the webhook has been called. I have my record ID. The Windows has been closed very well because I have a static code of 200. I have all my information that I need for the next step. I can see the image chain, okay. And if I go to my HTTP module, I can see that every parameter has been passed. For the password, because when you create a Softr user, a password is generated. You can add it manually or just don't care because it's processed on Softr side, so don't worry. And in any case, it's wrote here. Yeah, if you don't specify a password, it will be generated for the user automatically. So don't wait for the password if you don't put anything. Okay. So, and with the output here on data, this is my output. So I can see I have all my information, and I can see there is a magic link. This is what I needed, and my automation ran well. So if I go to my Airtable module and I check magic link here, I can see everything work very well. And then in any case, we can check here because we have the result here. Do we have enough time to show the delete user part, Lizzie, or do you want me to?
Yeah, I would say go for it. If we
Yeah.
go a little bit over, it's okay. The next,
Okay.
does it? Yeah, I would say go for it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So now I'm going to show you how to delete a user using the Softr API. So here's the case. You're now able to create a user, but what if you want to delete one without being in your application? For the record, you go to your application, the user section, and you have all of the information. But let's say you want to delete this one instead of clicking and select delete. You can just do it by clicking this button. Here we go. Okay, I'm going to refresh. And normally, okay, maybe there's some bug. It happened. Live stream. Oh, of course, it crashed. Why? Okay, anyway. We'll show you one success one. So we have a webhook. It's basically the same structure as I showed you previously. So we have the trigger, we have the webhook response to close the window open, and then we want to retrieve all information we need. In our case, it's like the user information, because for the record, if you create a user previously on Softr, normally user information are the same. And then we need to request to Softr, we want to delete it. Okay. So if we want to delete the user, basically you need to go to HTTP. You have to use this URL. And as you see, there is a particular one. As a parameter, you need to provide the email of the user. So if I go here and I said, okay, so here's my URL, but as you can see, I did not provide the parameter, the email of the user, because I gave him here on the query string section. It's a choice. You can put here directly using the mapping, or you can just put here. There's no it's quite the same. For the authentication, it's the same for the create user. Also, you need to precise the content type. In our case, it's application/JSON. You need to provide the domain and your API key. And for the content, you just don't have to worry about it. And then when you're done, you can just give him to Airtable the record ID you find it previously and just delete the record. Do you guys have some question? Maybe for me or Lizzie, or do you need some precision on the API documentation maybe?
Anybody? We don't have any questions in the chat right now, but to be honest, that was a really, for me at least as a beginner to make, I feel like that was a pretty clear description of how you got from A to B. It was helpful for me for sure. Also, we can create some documentation after this presentation, the Softr team internally, if that's helpful for you guys, if you had like a blog post that kind of lays out some of this stuff step by step, and maybe we include some of the code that Arthur was talking about, for example, the pop-up window disappearing. We could maybe add all of that within some documentation and send it out to our attendees and the general Softr community. But so far, I don't have questions. If anybody else has questions, feel free to send them in the chat. But that was super helpful and really cool to see. So thank you for walking us through that make scenario. So now I guess without further ado, we'll hand it over to Yaya, who is going to walk us through how he allows his users to update their email address within his Softr app, which technically the app that he's built is a founders portal, but I think today we're going to use a Softr template just for consistency's sake. So I'll hand it over to you, Yaya. I'll let you introduce yourself and do the.
Yeah, thank you, Lizzie. So yeah, let's jump right in. As Lizzie said, I've built a founders portal. So from a high level perspective, can you see my screen first of all? I think so, yeah?
Yes, we can see it.
Perfect. So from a high level perspective, what is the issue that I ran into? It was a couple of my users, they asked to change their email address within their Softr app, right? So as we've just seen, when you create a user, it's linked to an email account. And this email account specifically lives inside of the Softr database as well as in the Airtable database. So it is not as straightforward as simply changing the Airtable email address, because then it's not linked up anymore to the Softr database. So this is where it gets a little bit tricky. So and this is where Make came into play. So I built a process to solve for that. So very, very high level process overview. What happens? So first of all, the user submits a new email address, right? Via a form. So the form would look something like this, for example. This is what I've built in this example base. And we can go into Softr if you guys have questions there. We'll go there anyways, but if you have any specific questions, always feel free to put them in the chat. So first of all, user submits the new email via Softr, or via the app, actually, that we've built with Softr. As a next step, because there might be a typo, for example, right, in this particular email address that the user puts in. So if I'm a user and this is my email and I've put in JH or whatever at the end. Obviously, I don't want that to be effective immediately, because then basically the account would be dead, right? So what needs to happen if you set it up, there needs to be some sort of confirmation step in between, where the user that just puts in his or her new email address actually confirms it. And there are different ways to go about it. You could send an email to the new and the old address. I set it up personally to just the new email address, but there are different ways to do it. And then so if we go back one step, first user submits new email. what needs to happen. An email needs to go out to the new address, right? So this is the first automation. And this is important because these are actually two scenarios within Make. So the first one is exactly that. So user submits, automation gets triggered, and a new email is being sent out, right? Once we have that, within this email, there is this confirmation link, right? And this confirmation link confirms that this email is actually valid, because otherwise it wouldn't have landed in the inbox, right? And this is a webhook. As we've seen with Arthur earlier, webhooks are very useful in these kinds of scenarios. And this then actually triggers the second automation, which replaces the email in Airtable, but also in Softr. Or it, like, to be more precise, in Softr, it deletes the old account and creates the old account with the old email and creates the new account with the new email. And with an Airtable, it creates, it just updates the Airtable record, and then it links up with the new account, because the way that the connection between Airtable and Softr works is via this email as a single identifier, right? So far, any questions? This is high level. And yeah, if you guys don't have questions, then let's jump right in.
This is super clear, no questions, but this is a great overview. It makes sense. So let's dive in. I love it.
Yeah, and I really like to outline these in a visual way before I start building, because once you start building, at least myself, I get lost oftentimes. Yeah. So
I recommend the same thing when users are building out Softr apps. I'm like, get started in something like Miro first and outline who your users are going to be, what the purpose is, you know, all different things. So it's helpful for sure.
Yeah. So here's then the more detailed flow, but let's jump into the actual apps. So first of all, the data structure within Airtable, maybe let's do this a little bit bigger. The way I structure this is I create a separate email changes table that collects all of the changes. So if we go back to what we're doing here, user puts in his new email and then submits inquiry. This is actually a form. It's basically it's a simple form, right? So if we look at that in Softr, you can see it's a form, and then you can add the different fields. And this consists out of 4 different fields. So first is the new email address, obviously super important. But then there are 3 hidden fields, right? Why are there 3 hidden fields? Because we need to map this new email to the user, right? So the first one actually is the record ID of the user that is logged in, and the user has to be logged in to change his email, because otherwise he couldn't change his email because he wouldn't have one, right? And this is like after the creation. So this is and also Softr made it very easy to actually do that. It was a bit more difficult in the past, but right now it's very straightforward. So you just use the hidden field type, map it to a value, and then go into the logged in user, and then click record ID. And this is the way that you connect this, right? Okay, then the next one would be the old email address, because we also want to capture that. And we also do it via this way. So it's logged in user again, right? Hidden field, map it to some value, and then email of the logged in user, right? And then the third step, again, hidden field, it's an email address change status. And this is the way I build it. It's not necessarily relevant, but I like to have a status within Airtable, so I can see what the status is. And in this case, it's just requested, and this is hard coded. So you just go to custom value at the bottom and then write in requested. All right. And this is what is represented here in this Airtable base. So we have the new email address field, we have the old email address field, we have the app user and the 2 lookup values, and here is the status. So what's the status of the, again, this is the email changes table. So what can be the status of an email change? Every record is a single or represents an email change. It can be requested, which is once it has been requested. And then, waiting for user to confirm new email. This is basically after the email has been sent out and we're waiting, and then a user confirmed new email, which is then the final step. All right. So if we jump into Make now, this is how it looks in Make. So as I said, we will use webhooks here. So one thing to add to the form, sorry, the form is here. Where was it? 1 second. Here. There we go. So what you can do with the form is obviously you can simply create a record with an Airtable, but here we go a different route and we select Send to Make, right? And in order to do that, we first need to create a webhook module within Make. Right, so this is what I did, and then after you created this this module, you can basically copy this webhook out, right? And a webhook, for those of you who don't know, is basically a trigger, right? It's a link that triggers an action, and in this case, if this link is clicked, it triggers this action. Or in this specific case, if this button is clicked, this basically triggers this link to be clicked, and then the automation is triggered. This is the steps, or what is happening. So this is the first step. And the great thing about a webhook is, as we also saw earlier with Arthur's build, there are things that you can, like, there's information that you can add to webhooks, right? So what basically the Softr app does is it sends out these four different fields, the information of this inside of the webhook in order to use it then in the automation. So we have the information which I've just explained inside of Make, and can start working with it. Right. So the first step is here to there's actually a filter here before that, because the it stops basically this whole automation if the new email is equal to the old email. Because then this whole thing doesn't make sense, and maybe the user just forgot that he's logged in with this email. I just wanted to control for that. So this is why there's this filter. So you cannot change your email to the same email, which is obvious, but it's also like I put a barrier there so it doesn't get messy afterwards. Because when we go into the second automation, as I've also explained earlier, we delete the account, and then it's just like it's not good. So. This stops this from happening. This controls for that. And then the record inside of the email changes table is created. So this will create a new table. We can test it once. So I'm logged in as I think, let's just see. I think I'm logged in, and I should be able to submit this. Because I wanted to show, I didn't turn it on. So let's run it once. So this is the testing phase. So wait for new data so you can better see what's going on. So let's put it in, submit inquiry. And then you see a new record is created. Next step, it sends out the email, and then it updates the record. If we go into here, we see there's a new line, right, with the new email and all of this information. And this status automatically changed to waiting for a user to confirm. Because right now, as you can see here, I'm logged in to this email account that I've just put in. If I click on this, this is the next module. This is in Make, this is the Gmail module where I specified send this email from, so you have to have a from address, obviously, so you have to put that in. Send it to the new email address, which is called from the webhook. So you see when I hover over this, the webhook module how do you say, breathes or something. It takes the information from the Softr form. Then there's a subject, and here in the content within Make, within the Gmail module, you actually have to use HTML, which for non-coders might be a little bit like oof, but I can assure you. Half a year ago, I didn't know anything about coding, and all you have to do in order for this to look okay is just put in this. I think it's a print command in HTML, right, Arthur? I think you're the expert here. Basically put in the P and the /P around every single line that you want to have, and then the email basically looks like this. So there are line breaks in between, and it's not just a single line with everything. And then what you put in there as text, you can customize. So I have a confirmation, so you can confirm your email change from, and then the old address to the new address, and you can confirm that by clicking on the following link, and then the following link is the confirm the change URL, right? And then information after confirmation, you need to reset your password because in the back end it actually deletes the old Softr account and then creates a new one. So if there's a password, it's just renewed basically. Any questions so far on this?
Yeah. Just for the record, for those who are not familiar with HTML, you can use like the Markdown module to translate plain text into HTML and just put the output on the Gmail. So for those who are not familiar with HTML.
Interesting. I didn't know that. So great that I'm here. Thank you, Arthur. All right. And once you have done that, it updates the record in the next step from basically from requested to waiting for user to confirm, so that we know that this email has been sent out. And then, as you can see, this is the link that is sent out. And this link is actually where the second automation starts, because this is the webhook that triggers the second automation where the magic happens, basically. So this link, first of all, is also pulled from this table. Again, if we go into Make, and this is the second automation, which looks a little scary at first, but it isn't as bad, I promise. You also start again by a webhook, by creating a webhook. And this time you copy it and you actually put it in Airtable. So this is basically the webhook here. And then what you do is after that, it's basically concatenating this webhook to send over information via this webhook. As we also seen with Arthur earlier, here in this case, it's the email change record ID. So this is just you just have to learn how to basically do it, but it's once you understood it, it's not that difficult. So you just put in the webhook in air quotes, put in this I call it and sign. Then again in brackets a question mark, and then whatever you want to call this. This is optional. This is just so you. This is basically shown in the automation layer, so you can call this whatever you want. Equal sign, and then and the record ID of this whole record, because this is important for the automation. And then also we want the user record ID for the automation. And this is where we will jump into next. So when we go into this automation, basically, what are we doing again? Quick recap here. Sorry. So user, we're here. We just send out the email, and now the user confirms the new email. Basically this will trigger the whole automation. So what is happening in the back end from a high level? If we zoom out, the link inside of the email. So this link that we send out via the first automation is clicked, and here you can actually see the information. So here's the record ID of the user, and here's the record ID of the email change, as we said. So this is triggered, which starts this whole automation. Then I'm looking up basically a record, and I'm looking up. I think I put some notes in here. That's makes it a little bit easier. Oh no, I didn't. Did I do it here? I just forgot to save it. Anyways, so what this does, it looks up the record ID in the email address changes table. So basically, it looks up which of those is relevant or has been clicked. So in this case, this one has been clicked. Next. After we do that, again, there's there's a router here. And this is because there's a chance for the user, when he received this email, that he clicked it, right? This whole automation has been triggered. His or her account has been renewed. And then after he has done that, maybe a week later, a month later, he goes back to his emails and he wants to click on this again. What we don't want to happen is that this automation is being fully triggered again, because this also includes the deletion of a user. So we want to avoid that. And in order to control for that, I have this router here. Where this basically, where the router basically checks if the user already confirmed. So it looks up the status here. And if this status is user confirmed new email, in this case, this whole scenario doesn't continue here, but continues at the bottom. It looks up the record, so the user record in the people's table, right here. So it would be this one. And then for this, it looks up the magic link. And then there's a webhook response again. Also, what we've just had with Arthur, this time a little bit different, because the status is a little bit, it's a different number. And if it's in the 300s, it basically redirects after you click the webhook. So in plain terms, if you click this link, what I want to do here in this automation is that clicking this link corresponds to clicking on the magic link. So the user clicks this link, this automation starts, he or she will get sent down, and then this webhook basically converts this click or redirects the user to his or her magic link. So in the value, it's the magic link that I put in. And then in the key, this is very important. You have to put in location. This is just something that you have to do, right? And then the status has to be in the 300s. There are different codes. So these are HTML codes. Just use 307 for this use case, because if you use 302 or 304 or something else, it's a little bit different. So just use 307. I don't think we have time to dive into that. And looking at the time, we don't have time at all. So
take your time.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about the time. This is great.
Okay, so this is the first path, and then if the status isn't, sorry, if we go to email changes, if the status isn't user confirmed but waiting for user to confirm, in that case, the upper automation is triggered. So this is where it continues. What does it do? It updates the record in the people table. And what does it exactly do? It updates the email field with the new email that has been put in the change email form from earlier, right? So if I were to do it manually, I go into here, look up the record, which would be this one, and here I would put in the new email. And this is basically what this module does. Next one is to create the user. So this is a Softr module or an integration, actually. So I think, like, looking at Arthur's scenario, I feel a little bit dumber. So I'm going the easy route here. There's the create a user module, where it's for me a little bit simpler. So you just put in the email of the user, and in this case is the new email. Then the name of the user, which I'm also pulling from the people table, or more specifically inside of this scenario, I use it from this module, because if I update a record, so if we quickly go in there, if I update this record and the record ID is also parsed via the webhook, as we see here, I can pull more data from this particular record. So in this case, from this record here, and what I'm pulling here then is the email, right? So and the email is then put here, and then password. What I did here is basically hash the ID. You can put anything in there. I just wanted something unique, so I took the record ID, but I didn't just want to take the record ID, but put it in a function. So the way you do this, there are functions here. Let me see. It's one of those. Functions, and I think somewhere is the SHA function here. Text and binary functions. So basically what this does, it hashes a word. So you put in, as in the example here, you can see it says internet as input, and then it outputs some strange wobbly bubbly, right? And it, like, this is just a great password, which cannot be guessed, right? And I also want to, I could create a magic link here. And this is what this does. All right. Next one. So after the user has been created in the Softr module, there are a couple of steps after that. So for the user, he still clicked on the link and nothing happened. So he clicked on his email, and there wasn't a webhook response as in this path, but at the upper path there hasn't been. So this is a step further down. So what I do is actually this is turned on, and so the Softr user is being created in Softr. So here it would be the new user and the new magic link. But I wanted to make sure that, because this takes some time, not a lot of time, maybe like a tenth of a second or something, but this takes some time. What I'm doing is in this scenario, in this module, I'm looking up the magic link from the Airtable database. So basically, what I'm checking for, has this already been created? Because if it hasn't, and I'm redirecting the user to this link, and there is no link, then it just says scenario failed for the user after the user clicked on this link, and I don't want this to happen, because that's just a bad user experience. So I'm checking for that via this search or via this lookup module, basically. And I'm doing this, maybe go quickly into this. I'm doing this via a formula. So you put in the record ID and then equals, and then in air quotes, put in the record ID from the webhook that I've sent over. And if this is basically, if this is true, great, we can redirect the user to the newly created magic link. If it's not true, then I've put in this quick workaround where it's a sleep module. So this just waits for a second. It delays the whole automation for a second, gives this module some time, or basically gives Softr and Airtable some time to communicate to each other. So to make sure that, because here it hasn't been created, take a second for this to be created, and I found that 1 second here is fine, and then this works. Because I've noticed that if I do it always directly, it's not always the case that it's just immediately created, and this is just a backup route. And then after that, it's basically searching for the record again. and looking up the magic link. So similar to this one, because after the second, the magic link is created. And then both scenarios are basically similar. So this is similar, this is similar, this is similar, this is similar. So user gets redirected. Great for the user. This is done. He will get redirected to the change password or forgot password page on his app, because we just created a very strange password for this user. And in the back end for Airtable, we update our email changes field here to simply user confirm new email, so it's documented here. Great. And then after we have done that, we will send out a confirmation email, and we don't have to do that, but basically we still are, because we're nice people. So we send out this email, so your new login, and then here's your password. So we again use the same hash function that we used earlier, just so the password is the same, because otherwise that would be strange. And at the very end, we delete the user via the delete user Softr module. And we don't delete the user, obviously, which we've just created, but we delete the old email address user in our Softr database. Because again, the Softr database of users, so this one and this one, they are technically different databases. So this is why we also need this extra step where it deletes the old user on Softr. Yeah, and then basically this was just the workaround, because sometimes like in an earlier iteration, I had this delete user earlier, and then it sometimes for some reason there was an error, and I just now I just put it to the back, and this commit function basically just ends the scenario, so it doesn't run over. Technicality not that important, but this is just why it's here, and yeah. Any questions? Sorry for taking
no question, no apologies. This was super helpful. I see one question from Emmanuel. He's asking, out of curiosity, how many operations are consumed in Make when triggering your entire email workflow?
It's a good question. Maybe Sebastian, could you tell me how I can look this up? How much this particular scenario consumes?
If you go back in your overview,
yeah,
of the scenario,
this one, or
yes,
yeah.
And yeah, that's perfect. There you see, for example, your first scenario is 11 operations. The next one is 46. The next one's 46 as well. 600.
So this one is 420.
Yes, this is 420.
Like in total, like accumulated, or a single run?
Is for the last payment period.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know how many times this has ran in the last period, but yeah. Hopefully this answers your question, Emmanuel.
But usually these are quite efficient when you're starting it with a webhook. I mean, there's no more efficient way to run it.
Oh.
Cool. Yeah. How long did it take you to go from like, am I right in saying that you first dove into Make when you ran into this limitation with Softr, or had you been familiar with Make and automation before?
So looking at this, I don't think it was the first automation, but it was one of the, like, these are all automations that I've built, so not that many. Yeah, so it was one of the first. It wasn't the first, but it was one of the first, yeah. But I to be fair, before using Make, I worked a lot with Airtable automation, so I had some knowledge on, in general, how automations work. But then Make obviously is a lot better than Airtable automations, because you can do a lot more. Yeah.
Do any of you, all three of you, have any advice for folks that maybe are trying to learn more about automation, getting deeper into Make, It's definitely more tech. I would say as someone that's, for me personally, as not as familiar as automation, it's more technical than I had anticipated. So what advice would you have for someone like me that knows that I need this for my use cases and I want to learn more about opening like the floodgates with what I can do with something like Make? What would you, if you have advice, suggest on where to get started?
Do you want to go first? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I can go first. So I think I'm probably less experienced than you, Arthur, on programming. So I would say start. so you want to have a situation where there's a problem that you want to solve for, and maybe start with a simple one. So maybe, okay, this happens as a trigger, and then send out an email, for example, or change the record in Airtable. And then the more you understand how the different mechanics work, what you actually have to put in as commands into all of these different modules, then you start trying out different things. For example, then you can start using a router and see how do the filters work. I think it's a lot. At least for me, it was a lot of trial and error, and just knowing it was possible, not knowing how to get there, but just start running. And maybe you start off in the wrong direction, but then you know what to ask for, and by asking for, I mean Googling, or going on YouTube. And the more specific you can ask your question, the more the more specific your answer gets, and the more precise. This is just how I learned it.
That's really great advice, honestly.
Yeah, I agree with he's saying the good calls, I would say. For my side, I would tell you to go first on YouTube, and also there's a lot of good videos on YouTube, even on the dark side of YouTube, right, with some like one channel with like 2 followers, and there's like a lot of videos. And also I recommend you to go to Make and follow the courses. There is some new formation, new training for those who want to discover Make. I'm not speaking about how to play with array, complex function, and build engines and such a thing, just to understand the basic. The new program provided by Make is really good. We've done everything on our side. And yeah, it's a good start. And plus, start small. Brainstorm on Miro, like Yaya did. Honestly, I didn't have the time to do this for our webinar. But brainstorm, start small, and just go at your rate, I would say. Just try, and even if you lose operation, if you made mistake, it's no problem. But if I have to give you an advice, when you start, be aware of your operation consumption. When show its screen, there is a lot of search record and such a thing. Don't forget to put like on the limits 1 and not 10 or 100, because you're going to consume all of your operation, even on a free account, and more specific on a free account, really, really fast.
Makes sense. Cool. Thank you, guys. Also, Raul added templates. I feel like that's a great addition.
Yeah, templates too.
Great. So does anyone else have anything to add? Any questions? This was super informative. You guys all 3 of you did a really great job of presenting the use case, walking us through it. I know it's a lot, so maybe there's like information overload happening, but for me, as admittedly more of a beginner to Make, I feel like I have a much better understanding of this, which is great. So I just want to thank all 3 of you for taking the time today to show up today, help our community out. If anyone has any other questions, you can follow up with any of us. I'll also be sending out an email, hopefully tomorrow, maybe Thursday, because I'm traveling tomorrow, with, of course, the replay and kind of a feedback form. And then I'll also add, everyone's LinkedIn so you can get in touch. But yeah, thank you guys so much. If there's anything else, I guess, anything else to add? No?
Thank you for the opportunity and the invitation. I hope we have some other opportunity to present how to use Make and
Yes.
Softr.
Definitely. We plan to do
and-
more of this. And guys, please let us know what you want to see in terms of workshops. We are planning to do more and more of these throughout the year, but the best way to do it is to just do what you guys want to see. So let us know.
Maybe action button and web and Make
Definitely
will be a great
can
one.
happen here soon. I know we've been saying action button soon for months now. I really am aware of that, but it really is their QA right now. They're testing it, so it'll come soon.
I know.
Okay, great. Thank you guys so much, and have a great rest of your
Thank
week.
you.
Talk to you soon.
Thanks for having us.
Have a good day.
Bye,
Thank you,
everyone.
guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.